In this video, I'll break down some really cool music video effects for Final Cut Pro 10. Now keep in mind, in order to use these effects or create these effects, you're going to have to use Apple Motion. This is not a pack or a plugin that I bought. I actually created all of these effects inside of Apple Motion, and if you want a brief overview of how to create your own plugins, definitely go ahead and check out my latest video where I showed you how to create your own plugins. I'll give you a basic idea of how to do it, but I would definitely encourage you to go ahead and watch that video to get a more, a bigger understanding of how to actually create plugins. But that being said, I'm just trying to give you a basic overview of how to create plugins using Apple Motion. The first effect I want to go over is how to create a really cool stop motion effect. So I'm going to do is head over here to Final Cut Effect, and then this doesn't really matter that much. I would make sure that the resolution, the frame rate, match the resolution and frame rate of your project, but it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, at least make sure it's 1080. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this up right here. So this is just a Final Cut effect, and basically the effect is called strobe. So if I head over here to the filters right here, and what I'll just do is I'll go ahead and just type in strobe right here. So here is a strobe effect. Place a strobe effect and place it right onto your effect source. Go over here to the inspector, and we're going to go to strobe rate right here. We're just going to publish strobe rate right here. So go down to this down arrow, we're just going to click on publish strobe rate. If I go over here to project, go to project, as you can see right here, you can adjust the strobe rate. Now what you want to do next is click on Command S, and we'll just call this strobe right here. And now we'll go to the categories, and we'll save it to My Effects. And you can, I guess you can change that. I don't think it really matters that much. So go ahead, click on publish right here, and now we have the strobe effect published to Final Cut, and now we can use this to kind of like fake a really cool stop motion effect. So if I go over here to effects right here, the effects panel, and let's scroll down until I find My Effects. So this is where I saved, and here are all the effects. Now go ahead and take the strobe effect, and we're just going to place it onto this Polo G clip. As you can see, not much is really going to happen if I play it right here, but let's say I want to take the strobe rate and let's change it down to like 5, and we'll wait for Final Cut to render. And as you can see right here, now you have this really cool stop motion effect. And you can change this, you can lower this down to as low as you want, but you have this really cool kind of like slow motion effect, and you could again, make it lower or faster if you want. It's really cool just to kind of fake slow motion, just to kind of slow down the frame rate. It's definitely a really cool effect just to have. It's just a little effect that I think will make your music video stand out, look a little bit cool, because some people figure out, or people will watch the video and try to figure out how in the world did you create that effect. It's just a really cool effect to have in your belt or things you can use in the future. So hopefully that's a really cool effect. Hopefully you like that really cool stop motion effect. The next effect I want to go over is this really cool page curl effect. Now, this is a really cool effect that is in Apple Motion that I didn't really know existed, and I'll try to make sure I keep all the names of the effects like the names in Apple Motion. If something doesn't show up correctly, you can't find it, let me know and I will do my best to try to fix it. So what we're going to do is head over here to the text layer, and we're just going to go ahead and add an adjustment layer. You don't have to do this, but I find this is so much easier when you're applying effects. So let's go over here. So we're just going to add an adjustment layer on top of the first clip. Click on Control D, and I like to set it to 40 frames. That in my opinion looks the best. Now we're going to do is head over here to the effects panel. We're going to add a page curl effect to the adjustment layer. Now as you'll see, now you can adjust the settings if you want. I'm going to leave it at default. Now as you can see, it's cool, but the problem is that looks really weird. You just have a black background behind it. So there you go. You have a nice page curl effect, but you say, hold on a second, I can't see the background. What if I take this background right here? Actually, I'll go ahead and do this first. I will lift this from storyline so it's easier to see. So let's say maybe I want to take this effect right here. Actually, never mind, before I do that, I'm going to make this easier for you, let's go ahead and just take these both lifted from storyline. So let's say, for example, I want to take this clip and put it underneath it. Well, you see, the problem is if I play it right here, you can still see the black background. You say, well, that doesn't really help. I can't see the clip underneath it. So what you're going to do is you'll go ahead and go right here, and we're just going to select it, and we're just going to click on Option G, and we'll just call this page curl right here. And now if you create an adjustment layer, if I go ahead and play that right here, that should work right here. Actually, never mind, I made a mistake. Before you do that, so scratch that. What you want to do is you want to take the adjustment layer on this clip first, take this clip, and then click on it right here and page curl. I made a mistake right there. So there we go. You want to compound the adjustment layer with the clip right here. So if I click on OK, there we go. I made a little mistake there. So play right here, and there you go. Now you can see the clip underneath it. So it's a really cool effect to have, and there you go. You have this really nice page curl effect right here. What I think is really cool, especially if you're maybe doing like comic book videos, or you're doing videos reading reading books. I think it's a really cool effect having a commentary channel, or again, you can use it for music video. I think it's a really cool effect. You can also use it as like a sticker effect. Also, you probably want to also add some motion blur too. It's just a really cool and nice little effect that I'm gonna probably use in the future. I think it's a really cool effect that I just didn't know Apple Motion had. The next effect I want to go over is this really cool glint effect. So we'll go over here to the effects panels right here. We'll scroll up until we find glint. So you see right here, here's a glint effect. Now this is an effect you probably won't use in every situation, but then it just looks really cool. It's kind of almost like a sky replacement effect. So we want to change the tint to maybe like a green, and we can just change up the tint right here. It's an effect that you probably won't use all the time, but I think it's just really cool. Use on like, it's just a really nice kind of glow effect. You can use it as sky replacement. There are a whole bunch of situations you could probably use this effect. I just wanted to include this because I thought this was a really cool kind of like glow effect. So this is just a quick little one, but I just wanted to make you aware that this effect exists. I think this is a really cool effect, as well as this really cool like bloom effect too. I think there's really nice effects to kind of create this, I don't know what you call, like lens flare, glow effect. It's just a really cool, nice little effect to have. So there you go, the glint effect. Now this next effect is really cool, and basically it's almost like a prism effect. Now if I go over here to the effects panels right here, and I'll scroll down until I find random tile. So if I place a random tile in the clip, as you can see right here, it creates this really cool kind of like crystallized prism effect right here. So as you can see, that looks really cool. Now what you could do is, it depends on your clip and everything like that, but let's go ahead and you could basically go through and adjust the settings. This won't be perfect, but let's adjust the radius. Maybe we want to adjust the feather or something like this. We want to recenter it. So there we go, something like this. And I'm just kind of messing around, but there you go, just measure the center, the radius, the feathering. Obviously doing it pretty quickly, but obviously you'll take your time. As you can see right here, this is a really cool prism effect, so you can mess with the settings, but I just want to include this because I just thought this was a really cool effect. It creates this really cool kind of like prism kaleidoscope effect. I think this is a really cool effect and a must-use effect for music videos. Now the next effect is an okay effect. I wouldn't use it in every situation, but I just wanted to include it. So you can see right here, it's basically just this really cool crystallizing effect. So go to the effects panel. I'm gonna go ahead and just find crystallize, and there you go, here's a crystallize effect. Now what you want to do is you want to apply it onto the clip first, adjust the settings, and then create a freeze frame, or else the crystallize effect is going to animate. So let's just take, for example, let's adjust the size, the spread, just something like this, just an example. Obviously it depends on your clip. So what we're going to do is we're going to go just create some freeze frames. So click on some markers, and we'll do something like this, and maybe something like this. Again, this is just, I'm just doing an example. So what we're going to do is we'll click on option F to create a freeze frame. So what we're going to do is click on option F to create a freeze frame, just where the crystallize effect are. So option F to create a freeze frame, and now let's just go ahead and just delete these parts right here, and we're just going to go ahead and delete it. And we can go and delete this part right here. So now you have this really cool crystallize effect. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just create into a compound clip, and I kind of create this really cool zoom animation. So let's click on Control D. I'll set this to 13 frames right here. So it depends, on what you want to do. So go ahead, click it right here, compound clip, and we'll just call this, I don't know, we'll just call this crystal right here. There we go, I think that's how you spell crystal. So we're just going to compound the clip right here, and now we can just mesh the keyframe, the scale. This can be different depending on what you want to do. So let's change the scale to like 120. All that's doing right there is it's just zooming in right here. So I just think this is a really cool kind of like pixel art effect. So you see right there, there we go. You have this really cool kind of like pixel art effect. It's just a really cool effect that I want to include. It's not going to be used in every situation, but it's just something that I want to make you aware of. This next effect is a really cool kind of like offsetting transition effect. So what you want to do is you want to take the clip right here, and you're just going to create a copy by holding option. So you're just creating a copy of the clip. Now what you want to do is you want to advance forward 20 frames. So as you can see right here, I just advanced forward 20 frames. What you're going to do next is create a freeze frame where that marker is, and make sure the two markers are lined up. So click on option F to create a freeze frame. So all we did was we create a freeze frame. Now it's really important to leave that marker where it is, or else it's going to get really annoying if you don't do that. Now let's lift the freeze frame. Now we're going to take that freeze frame and we're going to place it right before that marker, and make sure it ends exactly where that marker is. That way it lines up. So you can see right here, it'll just line up. It's really important that you do all these steps correctly. Now what you want to do is head over here, and we're going to scroll down until we find mask. So go over here to mask, or just going to apply a draw mask right here. And now this, it won't be pretty, this won't be, a super nice mask. But let's just cut out out, I think you pronounce his name Frito Bang. I'm not 100% sure, but I know his videos are incredibly good. Well, I'm not saying he doesn't edit his videos, but the people who edit his videos are really impressive. If you want some really cool music video effect ideas, definitely go ahead and check out his stuff. Obviously, he doesn't edit it; it's done by somebody else, but his videos are really creative. So let's go over here, and we're going to do a draw mask, and there we go. Now we just cut him out right here. So we just use a mask to cut him out. Now what we're going to do is head over to the adjustment layer, place the adjustment layer right underneath the clip right here, underneath the freeze frame. Make sure it's underneath the freeze frame, and we're going to set this to 20 frames. And now we're going to add this really cool offset effect that obviously doesn't come in Final Cut. You have to download it or you'll create it off of Apple Motion. So now you have the offset effect right here. Now this is what I found. What you want to do is you keyframe it by 100, which is like a full rotation. Make sure that every time you do it, go every 10 frames. So for example, I'm going to offset it by, I'm going to have it whip by 2 times, so I'm going to set it to 20 frames. Every time you have it one full whip, I would encourage you to only do it for every 10 frames. So if you're going to have it whip across the screen 3 times, set the duration to 20 frames. So if you click on offset right here, click on the horizontal offset, create a keyframe, and then go to the end. And now since this is 20 frames, we're going to go to 200. So go every 100, every 10 frames, go by 100. So if I play it right here, as you can see right here, the screen right there offset, and see it whips around 2 times. That's why I set it at 20 frames right there. So there we go. Now you have this really cool offset effect. Now I would encourage you to obviously add some motion, but I won't because I'll slow the computer down. But let's go like this. Take Frito Bag and we'll just scroll out to 50%. And we're just going to drag him off the screen, something like this. It's not going to be perfect. I'm doing this, pretty quickly. Obviously, take your time when you're doing this, but I'm just doing this pretty quickly. Let's place a keyframe on position and then go to the end. And now we're going to have him keyframe to 0 right here. So now, as you can see what happens, the background is shifting, offsetting while he is sliding up. So I think it creates this really nice effect. So if I play it right here, you have this really sweet offset effect. And basically because you can't rotoscope, this is the best you could possibly do without having the ability to rotoscope. So I think this is a really cool effect, and it's very unique. I've never seen an effect done like this ever before. The next effect I want to go over is this really cool halftone effect. So what we're going to do is click on this clip right here, and we're just going to add this really nice halftone effect. So you can see right here, I'm just going to place a halftone effect, and we're just going to place it onto these 3 clips right here. We just use the 3 photos. Of course, adjust the settings. Final Cut has its own halftone effect, but I don't think it's as good as Apple Motion's. So if I play it right here, as you can see right here, you have some really cool halftone effects. So if that's a look you're going for, I think it's just a really nice look. But there you go, there's a really cool halftone effect, and you have to use or download it from Apple Motion and put it in Final Cut. I just think Apple Motion's halftone effect is way better than Final Cut's. Another cool effect is this really cool camera flash effect. So over here to the adjustment layer, I'm going to set this to 6 frames. You can of course set this to whatever you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just go over here to the color board, or go to the color section and add a color board. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to exposure, and we're going to place a keyframe on the exposure. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go forward of 3 frames. So 1, 2, 3, go forward 3 frames, and we're going to take the highlights. This can be up to you. We'll take it to 100, and we're going to take the global slider all the way up to 90. So now it kind of has this white flash. Now to actually have that animating, we're going to go 1, 2, 3 frames, go to the end, and change the global to 0, change the highlights to 0. So as you can see right here, it has a really nice flash transition right there. Now make sure you place a marker in the middle, and we're going to place the flash transition right on top. Make sure the marker is there, or else it's going to be really annoying to try to figure out where you keyframed it. So see right here, it has a really nice flash transition. So this is a really cool just transition to have. Now this effect you're not going to find in Apple Motion. You actually have to download this from Cinepacks. So it's a really cool new free film burn pack they have. So you see right here, actually never mind, not this one. Let's go and scroll down. Oh, there we go. So you see right here is this really cool film burn. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the film burn, and you're just going to place it right on top of the clip. You can try your best to find like a nice transition point, but this effect is pretty simple. What you want to do is head over here to the effects panel right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down until we find screen. So there we go. Now you have a really nice film burn transition. Just place it on top of the clip, change the blend mode to screen, and you have this really cool 16mm film burn. Now another really cool effect that comes in this pack is this really cool hole punch transition, or this hole punch effect that I'm sure you've seen, really popular, or is a really popular effect. You have this really cool hole punch transition. Now a couple of the blend modes that I found look the best is I would choose to change it to lighten, or also change it to difference. So now you have this really cool inverted effect. So if you're wondering, how do I have that really cool hole punch transition? We'll go to Cinepacks, and now as you see right here, you have this really cool hole punch transition. Now, another really cool music video transition is the whip pan transition. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this to frames right here, and then this really doesn't matter that much, but I would encourage you to probably set the frame rate to 60 FPS. So we'll go ahead and change this to 15 frames. Make sure on Final Cut Transition 60 frames per second, and make sure the duration is 15 frames. I just feel like that looks the best. So we go over here and click on open right here. Now we have a really nice transition. As you can see right here, it's a really quick transition. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have transition B start where transition A starts. So click on I for an endpoint. As you can see right here, now we just have transition A, or transition B starts also where transition A starts. We're going to go over here to transition B, go over to the inspector, go to properties, and what we're going to do is we're going to head over here to the X value right here. We're going to add to the X value right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on right here, down arrow, and then all we're going to do is we're going to add a parameter behavior, and we're going to add the link parameter behavior right here. So then all we're going to do right here is we're going to take transition A, and we're going to drag it into that link right here. So we just have the transition A dragged into the link, change the X offset to 1920. That's because this is a 1080p project, so obviously it depends on if you're using a 4K project. Now we're going to do is just going to animate transition A right here. So we're just going to have it animate for, so we're going to go here, so click on the X value, and we're going to go all the way to the end of transition A, and we're going to have it go right here. So we'll go to the black mark right here, and we're going to type in negative, I believe negative 1920. So if I play it right here, as you see right here, transition A slides over with transition B. Well, transition B slides over with transition A. So you can see right here, transition A just slides over, and then transition B, because of that link behavior we added, it's matching the movement. So all you're going to do, also you can also add a motion blur too. So go to rendering and enable motion blur. I'm not going to do because it'll slow down my computer. What you want to do is go to project inspector, and then what you do, head over here to motion blur, and you can adjust the sample and the shutter angle if you want, but for this example I'm just going to leave it how it is. But of course I would definitely encourage you to add motion blur. So click on Command S to save it, and we'll just call this whip pan example right here, and we'll just save this right here to my transitions. So as you can see right here, now we're just going to publish to Final Cut Pro 10. So there we go. Now we have a nice simple whip transition that we can use into Final Cut. So if I head over here to the transitions tab, as you can see right here, whip pan, now we can just apply the whip pan onto Final Cut. Obviously it probably won't look that good without a motion blur. So if I play it right here, and there we go, now you have a nice whip pan. And of course you can adjust the duration either in Final Cut, or you can adjust the duration in Apple Motion. So there you go, now you have a nice really cool whip pan transition that you can use in Final Cut. The next effect I want to go over is this really cool slideshow effect. So you can use this for, like, photos, having this really cool slideshow effect. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the first clip. I'm going to go back 20 frames. There's already a marker, but if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you see right here, I just went back 20 frames. Now what you're going to do is you're going to place the second photo right where that marker is, so lining up to the last 20 frames. Now what we're going to do is we're going to keyframe the photo. Now we'll go here to 50%. Now we'll go to position, and what we're going to do is we're going to keyframe the photo, and we're going to go to the end of the first one, go back one, place a marker right here, and now we're just going to take the position, and we're going to drag the position all the way up to, I think, like 11 something, and there we go. As you can see, the position is dragged all the way up, so you have this really cool effect right here. Now to make it look even cooler, I would encourage you to take the second photo and then maybe change that to like negative 250. So the second photo is also moving with the first photo. So if I go right here, place a keyframe, I'm on the second photo, make sure you go to the marker right here and then change the keyframe to 0. So all that's doing is the first one is moving up and the second one is also moving up, and it might not be perfect, but as you see right here, there we go. Now you have a really cool slideshow effect. And of course, you can go here and just create a compound clip. So we'll just call this slideshow right here. And now you have this really cool effect. I think it's just a nice little clean effect. So there you go. Now you have a really cool slideshow effect. And of course, add motion blur, perfect it, make it a little better. But just for the sake of the video, I just want to show you just a quick, really cool example of just, how to create a really cool slideshow effect in Final Cut. The next effect I want to go over is this really cool 3D orientation effect. So I go to title right here, we're going to change this to seconds, and maybe we'll do something like 10 seconds. Make sure on title we'll go ahead and just click on OK. So there we go, we just have it last for 10 seconds. Now in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just delete the type text right here, and now we're going to go ahead and click on right click, and we're just going to create a new, we're just going to add a new group. I don't know if you necessarily have to do this, but just for the sake of the video, we'll just go ahead and create a new group. Now we'll go over here to make sure in that group, click on objects right here, and we're just going to add a drop zone. So there we go, now we have this really cool drop zone. So go to the objects, just create a new drop zone. Now we'll go to the drop zone inspector, properties, we're going to go to rotation, and on the Y right here, so as you can see right here, this moves it in 3D space. So we'll go ahead and just go to publish right here, and all we're going to do is just going to publish the Y right there. So now we have the Y of the drop zone published. So if I go over right here, you can now just adjust the drop zone right here. So it's as simple as that. Now I would encourage you to do is just add a photo to your drop zone. So what we're going to do right here is just add the photo and then just place it right onto the drop zone itself right here. And we're going to go over here to pan to the drop zone right here. We'll go ahead and just publish the pan and the scale of the drop zone right here. That way we can just actually adjust the pan and the scale. So if I go over here to project right here, I can just adjust the rotation right there. So what you want to do next is just click on clear right here, and there you go. Now you've just cleared the photo. So I go to project, as you can see right here, the drop zone, I can adjust the Y, the pan, and the actual scale. And I may actually want to go here, head over here to, and actually just publish, or just go right here and just click on publish to publish the actual scale of the drop zone. So go to project, and there we go. Now you have this really cool drop zone right here. So now that's all you want to do. Now just Command S, save this right here, and we'll just call this drop zone right here, and we'll go ahead and save this to my titles and click on publish right here, and now that is saved to Final Cut Pro. So now we're in Final Cut. What we're going to do is head over here and just click on Option F to create a freeze frame, and we'll just click this Control D 10 frames. So all I'm doing is just creating a freeze frame. Actually, before I do that, I'll do like 20 frames. So there we go, just create a freeze frame. Now head over here to the effects panel. We're going to go to masks, apply a draw mask onto the clip, and now we're just going to do a very simple mask right here, just cutting him out right here. So we'll just use a draw mask to cut out the subject, and we'll just go something like this. I'm doing quick, obviously, put a lot more time and effort into it just to make sure you looks a little nicer, but just for the sake of the tutorial, let's just do it like this, just as an example. So there we go. Now I would encourage you to create a compound clip. So Option G, we'll just call this cutout just for the sake of the tutorial. So there we go. Now we have a nice compound clip, and we're just going to delete the compound clip. Next, what we're going to do is go right here. Next, what we'll do is head over to this clip right here, go to the end of it, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to My Titles, go to the drop zone, place a drop zone right here, Control D 20 frames. We're going to set it to 20 frames. Now we're going to go over here to the media, find the place where we save the freeze frame, go to drop zone right here, click on the drop zone, and we're just going to select the cutout right here. And now what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and I'm going to change it to something like, let's say like maybe 90, and I'm just going to place a keyframe on the rotation. So place a keyframe on rotation, go to the end, and we're going to change the rotation to 0. And then obviously add some motion blur too, but just for the sake of the tutorial. And as you can see right here, now you have a really cool, it's lagging a little bit, as you see right here, now you have a really cool 3D rotating freeze frame effect. The next effect I want to go over is this really cool drawing animation. Now you're going to have to use Apple Motion to create this effect. So what you want to do is you want to click on Final Cut Title. Of course, adjust these to the settings that you want. For right now, I'm just going to leave it how it is. I'm going to click on Open. So all you're opening is just a Final Cut Title. Of course, you could do this for any other, different, a generator or an effect. But I just think Title is the best possible, way to create this really cool plugin. So what I'm going to do is go over here to Type Text right here. And all I'm going to do is just delete the type text. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I think it's just really annoying when you have that. So what you want to do next is you want to find a source image. So I mean, you could just draw it by hand, but I would go ahead and just find some sort of source image to kind of just trace. So for example, I have this $sign right here, so I'm going to use this as a source image. So let's go ahead and just import the $sign. Again, this can be whatever you want, but I'm just going to use this as a source image. Now what you want to do is you want to click on it right here and then go over here to mask. You can either do Bezier or B-spline. For curve, you want to do B-spline. For straight line, do Bezier. So click on it right here, we're going to do a B-spline. So all you're doing right here is you're just going to trace the object. Again, I'll try to do the best I can, but just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to go a little fast. So all you're going to do is you're basically just tracing around. It doesn't have to be perfect because you can adjust stuff. Now this is already going to be pre-curved, so go right here, and then we're just going to go and click on it right here, and then just click on it, and there you go. You should have a click off it, and there you go. Now you have a really cool traced out line. So I'm going to go over here to the inspector, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and uncheck fill, and then as you can see right here is the outline. So let's maybe change the color to like a blue color right there, so you can adjust it in the where you want. So let's go over here, and now you can see you could adjust the width. So you could adjust the actual width of it. So we'll do something like this. Of course, you can adjust the points, do whatever you want. You can go through and mess with it, but just for the sake of the tutorial, we're going to leave it how it is. So there you go. Now you have a really nice, S shape. Now let's say, okay, I want to do that line down the middle. Let's go over here and let's change it to Bezier. Now, if you're doing a straight line, I would hold down Shift. So let's go right here. I'm just going to hold down Shift. Again, this won't be perfect, but if you hold down Shift, you're going to get straight lines. So this isn't, isn't going to be perfect, but let's go something like this. And there we go. Click off it and then just click on, there we go. Now you have a nice line. So we'll click on this right here. Of course, you can rename it. Let's uncheck fill and let's go right here and let's maybe change it to like a blue color right there. Again, that's not going to look perfect, but we'll just, just for the sake of the tutorial, we'll leave it how it is. Now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go for maybe like a second, and then so this one's this line. And make sure we're on the right one. So we'll go right here, and then we'll go to Bezier right here, and we're going to go ahead and click on the eye for the endpoint. So you can see right here, now it's not going to show up. Now what you're going to do is you're basically just going to have, or you use a right on preset or a right on behavior. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on it right here, the B-spline. We're going to go to behaviors, we're going to go to shapes, and we're going to click on right on. So that right on behavior is on the shape. Now let's scroll down, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the playhead right here, and we want it to be end something like right here, so click O. So now as you can see right here, it might not be perfect, but there we go. Now you have this really nice right on behavior right there. So you have a nice right on behavior. So all I have is that, so basically just rights on. So let's go to the Bezier one right here. Make sure you're on where it starts. Again, it might not be perfect, but just for the sake of the tutorial, we'll go to shapes and we can click on right on. And as you can see right here, it's going to start right here. So let's go for a little bit. And this is just this behaviors. You can click in and out. All that's doing is, like, depending on how long this is, that's going to be how long the animation is. So that's why I'm clicking in and the I and O for out points. It's just adjusting the length of the animation. So if I play it right here, let's click off it and let's see how it looks. So you see right here, you have a really nice $sign animation. So let's go over right here, and we're going to go ahead and let's just disable this because obviously you don't want to have that show up. So let's see how it looks. You have this really cool $sign, and of course you could adjust it, but just for the sake of the tutorial, we'll just leave it how it is. Now another thing you may want to do is click on the right on behaviors right here, and then click on this icon right here to open the keyframe graph. And of course you can edit, you can right click on the keyframes, drag them out, make them smaller. Just basically you could adjust the curve. So that's just something to keep in mind, if you're wondering, how to do that. Apple Motion has the ability to have the keyframe editor, which can definitely be really nice depending on your situation. Now it also may be pretty cool is I can click on this mask right here, and I can go to click on this icon right here, and I can actually mess with a couple of things here. I can also go over here, click on shape style, and we want to change the shape style to like a flora style right there. So you can actually adjust the shape styles. Now it's going to mess up a couple of things, but you're right here, and now you have this really cool shape thing. So you can actually adjust the shape if you want to. I'm not going to. I just wanted to show you how to do that. So that's definitely one option you could do. Now what you want to do is you want to click on right here. I would encourage you to click on all these right here, the write on behavior and everything. And then what I would do, I would encourage you to group everything. Of course, you can publish the color and the outline, but let's just group everything right here. So we're going to go ahead and just click on group. So we have the entire group right here. And now we'll play it right here. Make sure you can make sure everything works. So what we're gonna do is click on the group, and we're gonna go to properties, and I'm just going to publish the scale and the position. So basically, all that means is you can move this $sign around. So let's make sure that works. We published it. Go to project, and as you can see right here, now we can adjust the whole thing. So you want to make sure everything is all grouped together because it's just gonna make it look a lot nicer. So you make obviously so you can move everything at the same time, which is really nice. Click on Command S to save, and we'll just call this $, right here. We'll call it like $animation. So head over here to the categories, click on my titles, and now we're just going to save that to Final Cut. Of course, you can adjust other stuff, but just for the sake of the tutorial, I just want to show you how to create those really cool drawing animations. Okay, now that we're in Final Cut, we're going to head over here to my titles, and we'll take the $ animation and we're just going to place it. Now it might be a little bit too long, but I can show you how to adjust it. So wait for it to render. Now there's one little tip that a couple of things I want to go over. So if I play it right here, as you can see right here, you have this really cool drawing animation. Now as you can see, that's too long. So what you want to do is you want to go back into Apple Motion, adjust the duration, but just for the sake of the tutorial, we won't do that. So you can see, just keep in mind how long you want the animation. So for example, this clip is 2 seconds, so you want to probably have the animation last for less than 2 seconds, but just for the sake of the tutorial, we'll just leave it how it is. But there you go. As you can see, this really cool drawing animation. Now a couple of the things that you might want to keep in mind, or just a couple of things you can do too, is I would encourage you to create a compound clip. So Option G, create a compound clip, and we'll just call this like drawing animation. The only reason I would encourage you to do that, and there might be a better way to do it in Apple Motion, is by creating a compound clip. Now you can actually adjust the duration of it, versus if I tried to adjust the duration of it, and then it would mess up the whole animation. So now that we have a compound clip, now I can actually just trim right here, and that's not going to mess up the animation speed. If you don't do that, the animation speed is going to be all messed up. So as you can see right here, you have a really cool drawing animation, and the speed of the animation is not messed up. Now a couple of things that I would encourage you to maybe add to your animation is a couple of effects. The first one is this really cool effect that Final Cut has. I'll just go to all, and let's just type it in. It's called a neon effect. So if I play it right here, or place it on this, as you can see right here, that's a really cool kind of neon effect. So if you want to add something like glowing or neon animation, that's one way to do it. So you see right here, now you have a really cool neon effect, and of course you could adjust on the settings. Another really cool effect that I would encourage you to try doing is a handheld effect. Now the handheld effect would basically have a kind of like I guess kind of bounce around is the best way to describe it. So right here, of course, I would adjust the shakiness and the duration, the distance. But as you can see right here, it's like bobbling back and forth. Of course, you might want to adjust that so it doesn't get cut off. But those are just a couple effects that I wanted to go over just to add to your animation, just to help make it look a little bit cooler. So there you go. Now you can adjust the brightness, the glow, and everything like that. But I just want to go over a couple little tips and tricks and some effects you can add to this really cool drawing animation. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful and informative. If new to this channel, I upload Final Cut Pro 10 tutorials every week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you enjoy these types of videos, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, I have a playlist with over 290 Final Cut Pro 10 tutorials. So if you want to watch more of these types of videos, definitely go ahead and check out that playlist. I have a whole bunch of really cool Final Cut Pro 10 tutorials. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.